Hello again, and welcome back to Educator.com's Introduction to PHP course. Today's lesson is going to be a rather fun lesson because we're going to be learning about how to use PHP's built-in mail function, which is going to allow us to send emails from our PHP scripts. Specifically, we're going to talk about a little bit about the built-in extension, and then we're going to go over some basics of SMTP, which stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. And what that is that's how email messages get transferred from a sender and a recipient on the internet. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and we're going to talk about how it works in both Windows and in a Linux or Unix operating environment. We're going to talk about some mail configuration directives that are within php.ini. We're going to go over a little bit about mail server authentication, and then talk about a program provided by XAMPP called Fake Send Mail for Windows, which basically allows you to send email from your PHP programs with a little more flexibility than comes built into just PHP by itself. And specifically, we're going to talk about sort of the function that does it all, which is the mail function, which is the built-in function of PHP that allows you to send email. And then we're going to update our web application to include a Contact Us page that's going to allow a customer to email the store administrator. So as mentioned, PHP provides a built-in mail extension, and what it does is it provides two functions, but the main function that's used is this function here, mail, and what that allows you to do is basically send emails from your PHP scripts. Now, in order to use the mail function from your scripts, there are several configuration directives that you'll need to set up in PHP-ini, and we're going to walk through that. But before we do that, I'm going to go and give a little bit of overview about how email on the internet works. So SMTP, or as is known, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, is basically the protocol that's used between servers on the internet to exchange email. So when you send an email from one email address to another, SMTP is basically the rules that are used to get that email from where it's originated to where it's going. The protocol is implemented by things known as mail transfer agents, or MTAs, or as they're more commonly known, and you probably heard them referred to as a mail server. And basically, whenever you send an email from an email client like Outlook or via a web-based email like Gmail, your message gets sent along to a mail server, an SMTP server sometimes referred to, which will relay it or pass the message along to the recipient's SMTP server, or the recipient's, receiving mail server. So now I just want to go over how this sort of works in Windows, because there's a little bit of difference between how the typical an email is sent typically in Windows and in a Linux and Unix operating system. So we kind of have a diagram here, and basically we have a client computer, and this little symbol here is for the Mozilla email client, which is a free, it's Thunderbird. It's free from Mozilla, and it's an email client used to send and receive emails. Basically what happens is when you're in Thunderbird on your computer, your Thunderbird application, when you go to send an email, it actually contacts a mail server, typically on your local network, and it sends a message to it via SMTP. And what happens is once the mail server receives that message, it reads it and figures out where it needs to go, and actually sends it through the internet over to whoever the recipient is, whatever domain they reside on. It's going to send it to their mail server, and it's going to use SMTP to do that. And then what happens is then when the client on the other side, the recipient, opens up their Thunderbird, so they're using Thunderbird as well to download their email, typically what happens is they'll download their email from the mail server using what you might have heard as the POP or IMAP protocols. We're not really going to be talking about that too much in this lesson. We're going to be concerned with the sending of emails, so we're going to talk about sort of the SMTP structure. So in Windows, this is typically how it works. You have an email being sent from your client, and basically it gets sent to a mail server, which actually sends it out over the internet. And the mail server is typically on your local network.